Welcome to the Government Affairs Update for May 7th, 2021. We are coming right off the heels of a very successful spring convention and legislative summit held virtually at the end of last month. And we had a jam-packed 3 days of programming, special appearances by guests such as Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Lieutenant General Scott A. Spellman of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Sam Graves, ranking member on TNI, Peter DeFazio, chairman TNI, Tom Carper, chairman of the Senate Environment Public Works Committee, all appearing at the convention. Also, jam-packed legislative schedule. Steve Hall and his team went over the policy outlook and priorities, and a number of great panels and sessions that made up the balance of the event. So kind of want to do a recap today. And to do that, welcoming Steve Hall back onto the show to kind of talk about, what was said at the convention, any news made, and where things go from here. So Steve, thanks for coming back on.
Jeff, great to be here.
So what do you think? I mean, also Chris Wallace, let's not forget Chris Wallace from Fox News. I mean, I think he kicked off the event, and that was a great discussion that you and Linda had with him. What do you think the big takeaway from the convention was from our guest speakers?
I think we did get some interesting news in hearing their perspectives, Jeff. I think with the congressional panel, we had two Democrats, Dwight Evans of Pennsylvania, who sits on the Ways and Means Committee, and Anthony Brown, former lieutenant governor from Maryland, now House member from Maryland, and then Troy Balderson, Congressman Balderson of Ohio, Republican. And one of the comments, basically was, because there was a lot of conversation about, hey, look, will the two sides come together on a big infrastructure package? I mean, that's what everybody wants to know. That's what everybody wants to see. And I think it was Congressman Balderson who basically said, hey, look, if the leadership in the House and the Senate would get out of the way and let the infrastructure committees do their job, the answer is an emphatic yes. It is very doable. We can get it done. And I didn't see, the two Democrats on the panel necessarily disagreeing with that point. I think,
Yeah.
and having worked for members on that panel, I can tell you, yeah, they work together really well. And if the chairman and the ranking member are given, some latitude, they can come up with a bipartisan bill that would pass overwhelmingly in the House and then the same in the Senate. So I'm not sure it'll play out that way. I mean, this has become a big issue. The administration certainly has elevated it. But I think the president at the end of the day wants a win and wants something to sign into law. And if he gives, the lawmaker focus or the infrastructure focused lawmakers the flexibility to get it done, they will get it done. I was also pleased to hear from Secretary Buttigieg and speaking very positively about the Republican Senate counteroffer to the jobs plan. And that seems to be the general response from the White House. It's not, to be critical of what Republicans have stepped forward, but really to say, okay, we welcome that idea. Let's talk about it. Let's try to come together. And there's been, good comments and hopeful comments on both sides of the aisle that there's a deal to be made. There's between $900 billion and $1 trillion of funding in the president's jobs plan that really gets into the built environment, traditional infrastructure as well as school construction, federal facilities, energy projects. The Republicans have come forward with $568 billion. There's a bit of a delta there, but they're not that far apart. And even Senator Lindsey Graham on Fox News made the comment he thought something in the $900 billion range was the sweet spot, was something that was doable for bipartisan support. So I think the comments from the lawmakers and the secretary were interesting news and encouraging news during the convention. And we just want that good sentiment to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that right now the president is proposing, 40, about roughly 40%, right, of the
Yeah.
package that he's proposing, the American Jobs Plan, is infrastructure. I know there's been discussion about, well, how much is actually going to be infrastructure, how much is going to go towards social programs. We're looking about 40% in that plan. Republicans have a counter, and you're absolutely right. This is where the sausage gets made to an extent. This is the opening salvo of the conversation and negotiation, and that was my impression as well. Coming out of the event, it seems like everyone wants to get something done and they're going to settle on a dollar figure. And it's whatever number they finally settle on, it's going to be significant in scope. And when we talk about just, last year, let's say, 2017, all the way, really before then, we weren't talking about numbers anywhere close in the 900 billion range for infrastructure.
Hmm.
You had small reauthorizations, and of course the president's plan is additive spending. The Republicans would have this as part of the normal spending that you would do through reauthorizations and such.
Hmm.
But this is like a brand new world. Infrastructure is top of mind, and they're talking about dollar figures that before we would never have really considered.
Yeah, this is critical, Jeff. I mean, you've got to have a chief executive that's all in and wants to make this a priority. And we thought that was going to happen during the Trump administration. Unfortunately, it didn't. We got a new tax law done, which was certainly a positive, but infrastructure just didn't happen. And President Biden has made it, a centerpiece of his agenda. Got a lot of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle that want to do something. The economy certainly needs it. It couldn't be better timed, and I think Congress's inability to get some of the basic things it was hoping to get done last year. A new robust surface transportation law to replace the FAST Act, for example. That carrying over to 2021 really hands this administration a gift and an opportunity to use that and supplement it, through some form of the jobs plan to really do something significant for the economy and certainly keep this industry busy for years to come.
So where do we go from here? Normally, we would have our in-person fly-in at the tail end of the event. Everyone would get on a bus to Capitol Hill and start meeting with their delegations. We did not do that this time, but this is really the kickoff of a virtual lobbying and advocacy program for the grassroots. It's going to extend far beyond a convention or any single event.
Yeah, no, we did this in part last year. I think on a smaller scale. We're hoping for a much bigger scale this year. But actually, the virtual visits lend really well to the next 100 days. We've been through the first 100 days. Now we're into the next 100 days, and this is really going to define a lot of critical features that will determine whether or not this actually gets done or not. So the lobbying effort is perfectly timed, and it's an opportunity, with virtual visits. Very often you're meeting with the lawmakers themselves. You're not necessarily meeting with staff. There will be plenty of meetings with staff, but it's a good opportunity to meet with the principals. And so we're going to be pushing this issue hard. States are already cranking up and starting to get meeting schedules and a lot more coming down the pike. And we've got two really good issues. One, an opportunity issue in infrastructure, and then of course the issue affecting PPP loan holders through the FAR credits clause. We want to stay very focused on that and making sure we get the best possible solution we can for our members.
Yeah, it was great to hear Chairman DeFazio actually call that out specifically in his message to attendees, that he does have a commitment to get to the bottom of this and solve this issue. and that should not be overlooked when you have the chairman of the authorizing committee for this, talking to FHWA. It's something to have in your corner
Yeah,
to
no,
help.
he's been a big help. His staff has been a big help, and we've gotten great support on the Republican side of the aisle.
Yeah.
Sam Graves, the ranking
Hmm.
member, has been very supportive, and both sides of the House Small Business Committee. They're all engaged. They want to continue working with us to try to get this resolved as best as possible. We appreciate that. We want to get more of the rank and file lawmakers aware of this
Hmm.
and engaged as well. And that's where these virtual visits will be so critical.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of a wrap up from convention. What else are you looking forward to working on? What else is coming down the pike? Is it really just focused in on those two issues, or is there anything else that's coming up?
I mean, there'll be a lot of other things, Jeff, that we're going to contend with throughout the year. We've got, the regular appropriation cycle to fund the federal agencies and programs that we care about. There will be regulatory issues that represent opportunities for us, as well as some challenges. We want to make sure that, for example, the regulatory reforms and streamlining that we've been able to put into place, working with Congress over many years, and the previous administration, we want to keep those in place to ensure that good projects can go forward. So there'll be a lot of that. I think we're going to stay, focused and really put the bulk of our firepower, where it's going to help the most for our
Mhm.
members. And again, it's that robust infrastructure agenda and getting it done this year. And like I said, finding a solution to that
Yeah,
PPP loan issue involving the FAR credits clause. If we can check both of those boxes this year, I think we will have done a lot for this industry.
fantastic. Well, Steve, thank you again for the update, and we'll look forward to the work coming up in the weeks and months ahead on infrastructure. And once again, this has been the Government Affairs Update from ACEC for May 7th, 2021. We'll see you next time.